The WWF, what the world is watching. Turn it on and rip the knob off.
Guys, and welcome back to the Wrestling Memory Grenade, now at episode 159, as we continue on the month of November TV for 1988 in the World Wrestling Federation. I am your host, Ray Russell, and this week, yes, guys, we move yet another week closer to the Survivor Series. Just over a week and a half away now, by the time we wrap up shop here this week, as we're going to kick things off in just a moment. Going to be looking at some feature matches this week, including the Hitman Bret Hart taking on Greg the Hammer Valentine on Wrestling Challenge. And then on Superstars, we're going to kick it all off with the Rockers taking on the Fabulous Rougeaus, because it is, after all, November sweeps. So without further ado, let's get right into it, guys. Let's head off to the November 12th edition of the WWF Superstars of Wrestling. All right, here we are, Superstars, November 12th, 1988, tape back October 25th, Baltimore, Maryland, the Baltimore Arena, at actually a Saturday night's main event taping. And if you couldn't figure that out, all you have to do is look down at the apron, the SNME banner plastered everywhere around ringside here for this Superstars taping as well. And of course, it is Vince McMahon and Jesse Ventura on the call. And they're not wasting any time, guys. We go straight to the ring for our feature matchup. Kicking things off, Shawn Michaels and Marty Jannetty, the Rockers, taking on Jacques and Raymond, the Fabulous Rougeau brothers, with Jimmy Hart in their corner. And before things get going, we get an insert promo here from the Hart Foundation, the former team managed by Jimmy Hart. Well, actually, they're still under contract. And not only is Jimmy receiving some of their contract proceeds, but so are the Fabulous Rougeaus, let's not forget. But the Hitman and the Anvil out here, they say every move you make, every breath you take, Jimmy Hart, Rougeaus, will be watching you. Little sting there. Not that Sting, but the actual singer Sting. Sting and the Police. Learn your 80s music, guys. Anywho, the Hitman, the Anvil, warning the Rougeaus. We're watching you as the action gets going here. The Rockers working over Jacques Rougeau to start things out. Michaels with the tackle, but Jacques Rougeau kipping right up and saying, "You're going to have to do better than that, Shawn." Well, ask and ye shall receive, Jacques. So it's Shawn Michaels retaliating with not one, but two drop kicks, taking Rougeau down, and then Marty Jannetty in for a double drop kick by the Rockers as well. Well, Jacques, you asked for it. And as the action keeps going, Marty Jannetty executing a victory roll for a 2 count. And then we see, in that aisle, it is indeed the Hart Foundation arriving ringside to scope out the Rougeaus up close and personal. And the crowd loving the Rockers in control in the ring, and the Hart Foundation watching on the floor. Doesn't look too good for Jacques and Raymond right now, does it, guys? Speaking of Brother Ray, as Shawn Michaels goes running off the ropes, Raymond pulling the top rope down, causing Shawn to take a tumble over the top rope and onto the outside floor, where the Rougeaus finally gain control. And then back inside, it is the heel Rougeau brothers now in control. Jacques landing a spinning back elbow and some double teaming here by the Fabulous Rougeaus on Michaels. Marty rushing over at one point to try to make the save. He's lured in and being forced back by the referee, allowing the Rougeaus to do what else but some double teaming. In fact, Jimmy Hart even tossing his megaphone in for Raymond to use on Jannetty, but the Anvil runs into the ring to make the save. Thank you, Anvil. Meanwhile, the referee sees the entire thing go down. He sees the Rougeaus with the megaphone and Jim Neidhart in the ring. The referee forced to call for the bell and announce this match a double disqualification. Matchup only goes 3 minutes and 2 seconds. And the Rougeaus, they see they're outnumbered and immediately retreat from ringside. So not a whole lot of time for this one, but we did further the Hart's Rougeaus feud on TV, and we get a few minutes of fun wrestling from the Rockers and the Rougeaus. Want to see more of that, and we will see more of that in 1989. But right now we're setting up for the Survivor Series. Just 3 of the teams out here involved in that big 10-team, 20-man tag. I can't wait. And right now, for Update fans, you don't have to wait because we go off now to Update with Mean Gene Okerlund talking all about the recent issues between Jake the Snake Roberts and Andre the Giant.
Now, from the pages of the World Wrestling Federation magazine, here's Update.
All right, hi again, everybody. I'm Gene Okerlund. I saw it, and millions of others around the country, around the globe, saw it in front of a national television audience. First of all, Ravishing Rick Rude beating Jake the Snake Roberts when, all of a sudden, an uninvited guest drops in. That guest, as we go to the footage, is Andre the Giant.
Andre yelling for...
All right, after seeing that, it adds even more significance to the big upcoming Survivor Series just outside of Cleveland on Thanksgiving night. You can see it on pay-per-view. Jake the Snake Roberts, Hacksaw Jim Duggan to co-captain a team that will include B. Brian Blair, Tito Santana, and Ken Patera. Their opponents are going to be Harley Race, Mr. Perfect, Ravishing Rick Rude, Dino Bravo, and co-captain Andre the Giant.
You know, it's a disgrace to allow a man like a man. It's a disgrace to allow some vermin, some filth like Jake Roberts to bring that bag into the ring, to enter that ring.
And Jack Tunney, that's you fault anyway. You stop it every time I'm the big champion, and now you let that Jack Tunney.
All right, so they replayed the footage there. We hear from Andre and manager Bobby Heenan. Bobby stating that it's a disgrace to allow filth like Jake the Snake Roberts to bring snakes to ringside. Andre almost crying there in the promo, blaming Jack Tunney for allowing these things to happen. No doubt that phobia kicking in hardcore now on the Giant. Oh my God, Andre nearly in tears. What a great sell job there from the Giant. As we go back to the ring for the Birdman, Coco Beware taking on Mike Williams. Let's see if Williams fares any better than poor Tom Burton on our last episode of the Grenade here with Coco. Williams in the ring, surprisingly getting the better of the Birdman early on, but Coco none too happy. Don't worry, guys, it's kayfabe-wise. Coco firing off some shots and faking a reverse body block. Mike Williams ducking down from that move, but Coco, he never jumped. He's still standing on the ropes. And when Mike stands back up, it's missile drop kick straight off the top rope into the face of Williams and the Ghostbuster. Going to put Mike Williams away. Coco Beware going over 1 minute and 50 seconds, showcasing one of the many talents involved in the main event matchup at the Survivor Series. Coco, a part of Team Mega Powers. As we roll off now to Event Center with Sean Mooney, going to be hearing for the likes of Demolition and Mr. Fuji. Going to be talking about their big matchup at the pay-per-view.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Event Center. I'm Sean Mooney. Earlier, we saw a tag team matchup between the Rockers and the Fabulous Rougeaus brothers. The result, a double disqualification after the Hart Foundation came to the aid of the Rockers. Now, as you know, they are teammates in the Survivor Series tag team elimination match. Right now, co-captains Axe and Smash of Demolition are looking on, and I don't believe the incident got past their eyes.
I can't believe it. The Demolition cannot believe it. What we just saw a few minutes ago when the Rougeaus brothers was on their way to victory over the Rockets, and what happened?
Just like Fuji says, they're right there beating them fair and square, and the Hart Foundation stands back watching. And they jumped them right from behind. I guess that's why you have the Survivor Series. That's why you got guys like us, the captains, so we can lead the pack. Isn't that right, Aaron?
Well, we're gonna have the Rougeau brothers on our side. We're gonna have the Russian Bolsheviks. We're gonna have the Conquistadors. We're gonna have the Brainbusters right here, Survivor Series. Hearts, you and your team. You and your team members, the big powers of pain. The British Bulldogs. Those rockers, those rockers right there. And the young stallions. What are you gonna do, Hearts? You're gonna try to crawl over and get some advice from your former manager, Jimmy Hart? You're gonna come and try to talk to Fuji? You're gonna get some advice from the Baron? You're gonna do nothing. Because on Thanksgiving night, Richfield Coliseum, it just simply states it. Survivor Series. It's gonna be survival of the fittest. You're looking at the surviving captains. You're gonna be looking up at the lights. And all of your team members are gonna be crying the blues. just like you are. Big, fat turkeys on Thanksgiving night.
So that was kind of timely. We heard Axe there referencing the outcome of the Rockers Rougeaus match earlier on this TV program. He says the baby faces were outnumbering the heels, the Rougeaus there, but that won't happen at Survivor Series. Axe even referencing the Baron, if you caught that in the interview. So apparently initially the plans were around for the Baron to stick around all the way into the pay-per-view. Demolition says it's survival of the fittest, and those big fat turkeys on the other side will go down. Gobble, gobble. And it's even more tag team action. Now we go back to the ring. Arn Anderson and Tully Blanchard, the newcomers, the Brainbusters, along with Bobby Heenan in their corner, taking on Al Kinsey and Mario Mancini. Haven't seen him in a while. We get an insert promo here from the Busters talking about Survivor Series coming right around the corner, and they're going to take care of business at the pay-per-view just like they're doing in the ring right now. Vince McMahon pondering, hey, how do they know they would be taking care of business in the ring right now, pal? That was a pre-recorded interview. Jesse Ventura responds, it's called confidence, McMahon. Confidence indeed. Arn and Tully out here. Jesse even pointing out that Bobby Heenan's family been growing as promised. Now, Bobby just said a couple months ago as Hercules left the family that new family members would be coming in, including the Brainbusters and even the Red Rooster, in which Vince McMahon responds, shock that the Rooster somehow still undefeated. McMahon can't believe it. Wow, talk about burying a guy. Literally never heard Vince McMahon take so many jabs at a talent before, like he has Terry Taylor here. I can't believe that guy's still undefeated, pal. What a piece of shit. So Vince laying it into the Rooster, laying it in thick. But right now it's the Brainbusters in the ring. An excellent smug heel shit here from Tully Blanchard early on. A ring mechanic as much as he is an asshole in that role. Arn Anderson tags in, so methodical. Everything he does means something, and it certainly looks like it hurts. Tully even busting out a nice running drop kick at one point in this matchup, but the end sees Arn Anderson deliver that spinebuster O'Doom, and then Tully Blanchard in for that slingshot suplex on Mancini, giving the Busters the quick win this week. Match only goes 2 minutes. And as we come out of our next commercial break, we get a quick clip from Paris, France. We see Rockin' Robin defeat the sensational Sherry, the new WWF Women's Champion, Rockin' Robin, and then straight back to the ring singles action. Gonna see the mighty Hercules take on Al Navarro, and as Hercules makes his way to ringside, something odd, something off. Hercules has different theme music.
How about that, Jesse? Rockin' Robin, the new WWF Women's title holder. Well, it's shocking, but it just goes to show you, McMahon, on any given night in the WWF, championships can change hands. All you got to do is be a title holder and have one bad night, one off night, and you're out of your title, just like that. Jesse, you never were a champion, were you? I don't recall. Pardon me? Never mind. Al Navarro. The mighty. Yeah, real big trouble. There's an I surrender kind of trouble. Here is your winner, the mighty Hercules. Hercules victorious. As we go back and take a look at this. There's Hercules' boom, a short clothesline right there on Navarro. Look at this. Picks him up with one arm. Remarkable strength, gets the submission, and a big win for Hercules. Insult to injury there. Hercules the victor as we take you to the World Wrestling Federation Event Center.
All right, so there you heard it. Hope you guys listened closely. It's a slower version of that gladiator-style music that Herc already had, and I'm certainly glad they went back. But Navarro comes out slinging, as that may be the only way you can beat the Mighty One. Hercules, though, absorbing the blows from Navarro, firing off some nice jabs, and a big uppercut. Drops Al to the mat. Then from there, Herc landing in a well-placed knee lift, nice big clothesline, and the torture rack backbreaker. Going to get the submission win in just 1 minute and 39 seconds. Super quick match. Unfortunately, in front of a dead crowd. Well, at least until the finishing move. The torture rack got a big pop, but until then, not much reaction here this week from these Superstars fans, which is kind of scary because we're still early in the tapings. But I will say this, I'm glad they changed the theme music back for Hercules, because this one this week, that music ain't it. But I'll tell you someone who is it. It's Sean Mooney, and back to the Event Center. More talk of the Survivor Series as we hear from opposing teams, Team Honky Tonk and Team Warrior.
It will be the night where teams of 5 strive to survive. It happens Thanksgiving night. It's the Survivor Series live from the Richfield Coliseum. In one spectacular matchup, the Ultimate Warrior, he will co-captain a team of 5 along with Brutus the Barber Beefcake. Across the ring, a team of 5 co-captained by the Outlaw Ron Bass and the Honky Tonk Man. Let's hear from each side.
This is it, Outlaw, once again, the biggest night of our career. The biggest night for all of us. Survivor Series, Richfield Coliseum. Thanksgiving night is the night that the #1 team gets together. It's the night that we have our big anniversary party, Ron, just like we did it last year.
You know, Honky Tonk, when we were sitting down kind of picking ourselves a team, we couldn't have done a better job. You just look at Dangerous Danny Davis, brother. He's proved himself many, many times. Grant the Hammer. Hey, when he puts that hammer down side, that's it. And look here, Bad News Brown, the bad man from Harlem. You don't think he ain't used to being in a crowd? We're survivors. We'll be taking it to you, Warrior, Beefcake, Blazer, Brunzel, Houston, Thanksgiving night, the big Survivor Series. You're looking at the survivors. We're going to take you out, son.
Whoa, on Thanksgiving night, it's gonna be nothing but bad news, Honky Tonk Man. Haha, cause you, Ron Bass, Valentine, Davis, and the rest of your boys are gonna be in trouble. Because the rest of this team right here are so fired up to kick your butts. I can hardly hold the Warrior down on the ground. He's gonna fly right out into the air.
How many time zones? How many warp speeds did we have when that spaceship came through the time tunnel? It doesn't matter that we're all crispy and ready to go. We're all ready to crack. But at the Survivor Series, you're gonna see a crack in a big way. The shell's gonna come apart, and we're gonna explode!
All right, so Team Honky Tonk primed and ready. It's Honky Tonk Man and crew. Outlaw Ron Bass, don't want to forget you, Ron. The co-captains taking on co-captains Brutus the Barber Beefcake, and the Warrior Man himself, the Intercontinental Champion UW, says he's gonna explode all over Honky Tonk and company there at the Survivor Series. You can feel the feud between Honky and Warrior running down, and I'm sure they'll continue to work all the way through the end of the year, but for all intents and purposes, it feels like this is it. The big culmination going to take place. Hope these guys get in the ring with one another at the Survivor Series. And then we head back to the ring. A little Jive Soul Bro action here. The newly dubbed African Dream, Akeem, with his manager, the Doctor of Style Slick. Akeem's opponent this week, one Tommy Causey, as we see some dancing fun before the bell, and then Akeem mauling down Causey and begins dancing again, even standing over top of poor Tommy and slapping his own ass. Akeem slapping his ass in the face of Tommy Causey here. That's a new one. We even see Akeem bust out a press slam, picking Causey up over his head with ease, just launching him down in a big press. And as Causey gets back to his feet, I couldn't believe what I saw. Akeem stepping back, doing a little wind-up with the hands, and a little double thrust shot, a la Dusty Rhodes. Then from there, it is the Gourd Buster, the former finisher of the one-man gang, followed by Air Africa, the 747 splash. Gonna give Akeem the win, 1 minute and 54 seconds. Dominant and awesome squash here. A mixture of some serious clubbering, if you will, mixed with that equally awesome dancing. And hey, he even threw in a American Dream move right in the middle of everything there. So for those of you who have been on the fence, was Akeem a mimic in some degree to Dusty Rhodes? Well, now you have your answer. The African Dream mimicking Dusty Rhodes' style to a T, at least in some portions of the match. As we continue on, we go off to the featured fan segment this week. Mean Gene sitting in the crowd, this time with a lovely couple, Stan and Shelly. Now, Shelly does all the talking. As we learn, she is a school teacher for the 4th graders. And she says her students love wrestling. They even talk about it sometimes if the students attend the recent events here in Baltimore. Meanwhile, Mean Gene asking Stan who his favorite wrestler in the WWF is. Stan's response? Well, I like Akeem. Mean Gene blown away, as was I, but I love the answer. Oh, the Jive Soul Bro Akeem has a #1 fan in Stan. As we roll off now to this week's Brother Love Show. The reported guest, one Jake the Snake Roberts, but not too far behind his entire team at the Survivor Series.
Survivor Series!
Oh, no, I think he is.
It's just about 10 days away.
At least he can count.
Thanksgiving evening in Richfield, Ohio. And my guest this week
co-captains on the opposing team steps into the ring with Jake.
Now, brother Jake, you don't want... What is this reptile doing here?
You can trust me, brother love.
What? Trust you? You serpent!
Come on, my man. Damien's going to lay right there unless he needs to come out. But the whole thing we're talking about is Survivor Series. That's important to me. That's important to Damien. Now, Damien doesn't eat every day. No, sir.
Well, why don't you feed that serpent?
Because it's good for men and animals to wait and wait. That way you get a strong hunger that you're really serious about. And Damien's not going to eat again until the Survivor Series. And then that night, my man, we will feed him one giant of a meal.
What?
All right.
Are you speaking of one Andre the Giant?
You're a regular brain surgeon. You fix it.
Well, let me just tell you something. If you think for 1 second you're going to put Damien on Andre the Giant, you better remember one thing. You got to go and get that serpent out of the bag. And if Andre the Giant gets his hands on you, there won't be any Thanksgiving Day dinner for Damien.
He's got a point.
Think I'm walking out there alone? No, I'm not walking out there alone, man. I got tag team partners, you know. I'm a co-captain. There's another co-captain. But I'll tell you something about the men I got with me. I got Ken Patera, former Olympian, world's strongest man. Tito Santana, former Intercontinental Champion, former Tag Team Champion. I got B. Brian Blair. And I got a man that I consider a good friend, the only good friend I got. And you can hear him right now. He knows what giants are about. Oh, yeah. You think we're going to walk in this blind? No, sir.
Can you imagine, McMahon? That's his only good friend.
Old Hacksaw's going to have wandering eyes at the Survivor Series, and there's no question the good one's going to be Andre the Giant, but the other one, it'll be covering the other. And Dino Bravo, this is a Survivor Series, and you're talking about a country of survivors. USA!
You see, brother love, we all have fears, whether it's living till tomorrow, or fear of snakes, or fear of hard work. You can think about that, all right?
Brother Love has had his feelings hurt a little bit there. You can bet that Hacksaw Jim Duggan and Jake the Snake co-captains looking forward to squaring off against the opposing team of Dino Bravo and Andre the Giant.
All right, so Jake the Snake out there with bag in hand. Damien riding shotgun there with the Snake Man on the Brother Love show, telling Brother to trust him. An early reference to trusting the snake here. Brother Love calling Jake a serpent. Gotta love Bruce Pritchard. Jake says he doesn't feed Damien every day, and he won't feed him again until the Survivor Series, where Damien will be fed one giant of a meal. Read between the lines there, guys. Meanwhile, the rest of the Snake Man's team at the pay-per-view comes out as well. We hear from Hacksaw Jim Duggan. Big USA chant there from the fans, as we are a country of survivors, says Duggan. And after talking trash on Dino Bravo, Jake then says we all have fears, like fears of snakes, or in Brother Love's case, a fear of hard work. Little jab there at the end for Bruce Pritchard, but really all a quick build-up for the Survivor Series. Team Jake talking about their big upcoming match with Andre, Dino Bravo, and company. And right now, for those curious, the team out here with Roberts, of course, Hacksaw Duggan, the co-captain, Tito Santana, Ken Patera, and at this point, it is still B. Brian Blair, part of the unit. As we continue on, we go off now to a Survivor Series report. Going to hear from Mean Gene Okerlund and both sides of the main event.
All right, Hi again, folks. I'm Gene Okerlund. A week from this Thursday, that's going to be Thanksgiving. A great American tradition becomes even greater with the World Wrestling Federation Survivor Series. That, of course, is where teams of 5 strive to survive. The Big Boss Man, Akeem, and company will be going against these two men, Hulk Hogan and the undisputed World Wrestling Federation champion, Macho Man Randy Savage.
You know something, Macho Man Randy Savage make up power, brother? When the Big Boss Man put the handcuffs on me, when the Slickster maced me, they didn't get the job done because they didn't realize you and I were already as one. We both had our minds, bodies, and souls set on the Survivor Series with Coco, Hercules, and Hillbilly as our partner. I think our teams get the edge because after they beat me like a dog with a nightstick, the Big Boss Man, I'm gonna look across the ring and every one of those dudes on that team, when I see them, they'll all look like the Big Boss Man. All you're gonna have to do is push me in the right direction.
Beautiful, I like it, I like it. The biggest mistake ever made was by the Boss Man, yeah. Handcuffing this man, no man can handcuff this man right here. This is a Hulkamaniac, this is the Hulkster, this is Hulk Hogan, this is one half of the Mega Powers, this is the Survivor Series, yeah. And each and every person that's on our side, yeah, we realize how important this is. And Hillbilly Jim and Coco Beware and the mighty Hercules, he's one of us, Hulk Hogan. I know him now, I've seen him now, and he's ready for the Survivor Series. I guarantee it, yeah.
Well, you know, after the seance we had, brother, when you and I, Coco, Hercules, and Hillbilly, when we all held hands on Venice Beach, when we put our toes in the Pacific Ocean, when we looked up above and said, strike us with lightning, unite us as one, we're all Hulkamaniacs, when we got hit with a thunderbolt, I knew right then, brother, that all the Hulkamaniacs on our team could wipe out the Big Boss Man, DiBiase, the Rooster, Akeem, Haku, a bunch of bums. But you know something, Macho Man? You know something, Macho Brother? Even though we've been struck with lightning bolts, even though we're united as one, as Hulkamaniacs, we gotta watch out for the lovely Elizabeth. What would you do if one of those dudes tried to put handcuffs or hurt her?
Man, I'm talking right now, and I'm talking to you, everyone. Yeah, Boss Man Akeem, yeah, DiBiase, Red Rooster, and King Haku, yeah. I'm telling you, you're in the danger zone, past the danger zone. You guys are doing a hard time. Hard time.
What are they gonna do in the Survivor Series when the Mega Powers run wild on them?
Yeah.
All right, Red Rooster, King Haku, Ted DiBiase are going to be teaming up with co-captains Akeem and the Big Boss Man.
You know, you talk about the word survivor. You talk about the Survivor Series. Everybody knows the Big Boss Man here from the penitentiary can survive. You know, Akeem can survive. You know, the King has survived. With this man's money, he can survive anything. With the Rooster and myself, we can survive anything. But how can those other humanoids survive? Hogan, you are a habitual loser and you know it. And you're surrounded with people who can't survive. Right, Big Boss Man?
Hulk Hogan, Survivor Series 88. DiBiase supplied me with handcuffs for everyone. But I brought an extra set, a little bigger, a little stronger, to finish the job I started with you. I know I can count on my team. Do you know you can count on yours? Were them goofy pukes there to save you when I was beating you like a yard dog with my stick? Were they there? Can you count on them on Survivor Series? You tell them, DiBiase.
Survivor Series, the name speaks for itself. That's right. And it's not survival of the fittest, it's survival of the richest. And I've got my team so jacked up. Why are they jacked up? They're jacked up because I filled their pockets. I've given them a reason to go out and do what they need to do. You know, there's two kinds of wrestlers in the World Wrestling Federation. There's the kind that go to the front office and they beg and plead for favoritism, want patting on the back. They want all you people out there to cheer them on to glory. That's all they care about. And then there's our kind of people, the people that are here for what it's all about, money, and they'll do anything and everything they can to get it. And I've already lined their pockets and patted their pockets. And while all you nickel and dime, crumb-eating peons are out there giving thanks for the meager things you have. My team is going to be out celebrating a great victory and eating at the best of everything. And you, Hogan, Savage, Coco, Birdman, and Hillbilly, and especially you, Hercules. Hercules, Hogan, my slave. Feel the pain, Hogan, feel the pain. Survive! He's going to survive! Just survive!
All right, we heard from the Mega Powers there as the Hulkster says a seance was held, the entire team holding hands on Venice Beach as they dipped their toes into the Pacific, brother, then hit with a thunderbolt. So another one of those wild, creative Hogan promos there. And as I listen to this, I have to believe this is likely one of the only times we're ever going to hear the name Red Rooster come out of the mouth of either Hulk Hogan or the Macho Man. Meanwhile, we do hear from the entire heel team standing by as well. Big Boss Man says he's going to finish the job he started with Hulk Hogan at the pay-per-view. And DiBiase stating it's not survival of the fittest, but survival of the richest. DiBiase has paid his men and paid them well, even though he's not even one of the co-captains. Kind of interesting, but Ted DiBiase paying everybody to do the job here, coming to the pay-per-view. And we go back to the ring for Hacksaw Jim Duggan taking on Bob Blackburn this week. Double dose of Dino Bravo here and Frenchie Martin, first via insert promo, and then they arrive ringside. Wow, twice on one show, a wrestler coming ringside. We saw it with the Harts in the Rougeaus match, and now Dino Bravo and Frenchie doing it here in the Jim Duggan match as well. Frenchie out here waving the Quebec flag high, which prompts a big USA chant from the fans. Meanwhile, Hacksaw in the ring, standing clothesline on Blackburn, Old Glory knee drop, wind up slam, sets it up for the big 3-point stance and running clothesline. Duggan still leaving his feet here, clocking Blackburn with that, scoring the victory in 2 minutes and 20 seconds. And wouldn't you know it, by the time Hacksaw got done with business, Dino Bravo and Frenchie, nowhere to be found. But that was just a little taste, a little reminder of the ongoing feud, USA versus apparently Quebec or maybe Canada. Duggan and Dino Bravo, and those two will be on opposite teams, as we heard, in just a week and a half. But right now we go off to the event center. One last time. Sean Mooney running down the Survivor Series card. We heard it from Mean Gene already, so we'll skip that, and we'll close up shop here for Superstars. Next week on the program, the Rockers will return for tag team action, as will the $1 Million Man, Ted DiBiase. The Red Rooster going to be here in the ring, as well as the Hart Foundation. The Hitman and the Anvil, Tito Santana, going to be here, and feature match. Next week, as November Sweeps rolls on, going to see the Honky Tonk Man battle Brutus, the Barber Beefcake.
And then from there, our feature match next week. We'll see Brutus, the Barber Beefcake, squaring off against the Honky Tonk Man. Here now comments from both Beefcake and the Honky Tonk Man concerning next week's matchup.
Look, Brutus, my hair, it's never looked the same since you chopped it off.
I know it, Jimmy, and it never will. But, Brutus, let me tell you one thing. You won't be strutting, and you won't be cutting next week, because it's you and me, baby, and I'm going to play the tune for you like only you remember, and you know what it feels like.
Just when you thought it was over, it's only just begun. Did to you, Jimmy Hart, is nothing compared to what I'm going to do to you, Honky Tonk Man, right here, next week. Brutus Barbershop is open business.
So until next week, this is Vince McMahon along with Jesse the Body Ventura saying so long from ringside.
Well, Honky promising next week there won't be no strutting, won't be no cutting. Promising Brudeye that he's going to remember this tune. Meanwhile, the Barber responding, talking about Brudeye's Barbershop, open for business next week, Honky. Look out, may get a little hair cutting there. Rekindling their feud from the first 8 months of the year, leading into the Survivor Series. Very unique dynamic there in a couple of these matches, because we look over at the Hogan matchup. Hogan and Savage have both had issues with DiBiase, but now the Hulkster also has issues with the Big Boss Man. And we even recently saw Savage battle Akeem over in Paris on primetime. Meanwhile, in this particular match, the Jake Hacksaw Bravo Andre feud, well, we know Duggan had a feud with Andre coming out of WrestleMania 4, and now Duggan feuding with Dino Bravo. He's had issues with both co-captains this year. Meanwhile, Jake has had his issues with Rick Rude since WrestleMania 4, who was also on the heel team, and Jake also now issues with Andre the Giant. So a lot going on at the top of these matches. But as you can tell, it was nonstop hype for the Survivor Series this week, and we actually see them continue, or at least remind people of the ongoing feuds between the Harts and the Rougeaus and Bravo and Duggan. Not a lot of fisticuffs traded between those feuding foes right now, but the reminder was there. The visual was there as we saw the Harts and Dino Bravo come ringside in the respective foes matchups this week. And right now, guys, before we head off to Wrestling Challenge, going to take this quick WrestleCopia timeout.
Hey everybody, Gene Jackson here, inviting you to check out the Retro Wrestling Review, where each week I'm joined by some great co-hosts who help me review classic episodes of USWA Championship Wrestling, and right now we are doing week-by-week reviews of 1993. But we don't just do reviews, sometimes we get a chance to interview some of the people who were there and lived it, plus do watch-alongs. It's a lot of fun, so check out new episodes that drop every Wednesday at WrestleCopia.com. And to find links to everything associated to the podcast, you can go to USWApodcast.com.
Hey guys, Ray Russell here, curator of the WrestleCopia Podcast Network, inviting you guys to listen to many of the programs here as part of the WrestleCopia brand, including, but not limited to, the Wrestling Memory Grenade, currently covering the 1988 and the WWF project. You can also listen to the Regional Wrestling Podcast, where we talk the territories. You can also listen to the Wrestling Stoop with the legend himself, Bob Roop. But that's not all. You can also check out the Puro Wrestling Academy with the professor of Puro Resu, Mr. Dan Ginnity. Dan and I go back in time and cover the history of Japanese professional wrestling in the English language. And you can listen to all of those shows and more, all part of the WrestleCopia Podcast Network, located over at WrestleCopia.com. That's WrestleCopia.com, and anywhere your podcast streaming needs are met. And while you're at it, why not subscribe to our social media guys for all the latest goings on here at the WrestleCopia Podcast Network. Plus, I'm constantly adding old school video clips and pictures from throughout wrestling history. You can follow us over on X, formerly Twitter, at Wrestling Grenade. That's at RASSLIN Grenade. Also, follow and like me, Facebook.com/Wrestling Grenade. And why not subscribe to YouTube.com/Wrestling Grenade. And of course, now would be a fantastic time to become a WrestleCopia patron over at Patreon.com/WrestleCopia. That address again, Patreon.com/WrestleCopia, where you get so many gifts, including all of my insanely detailed show notes for every episode of The Grenade Show, Regional Wrestling, and the Monday Warfare podcast. You'll also get early access to a lot of the podcasts here on the WrestleCopia brand, where you can listen days and sometimes as much as a week earlier than the rest of the listeners. But that's still not all, guys. You also get at least a dozen digital downloads for your viewing and reading pleasure each and every month, plus random bonus video drops, and of course, the Patreon exclusive Watch Along series covering many past WWF and WCW events. And if that's not all, videocasts, also now a part of Patreon. No subscription, cancel anytime. Give it a try for a month, guys. I think you'll like the content that I offer, and every penny of it goes right back here into paying the bills. So if you're looking to support that next up-and-coming podcast brand, please consider making it WrestleCopia. Help me pay some of the bills to keep the WrestleCopia Podcast Network and all of the great shows here up and running for the months and the years to come.
This is Wrestling Nostalgia, the podcast that dives into wrestling history. Hey, wrestling fans, I'm Dave Dynasty, and if you enjoy podcasts that are knowledgeable and history-driven, then Wrestling Nostalgia is for you. With great guests and fun interviews, there are over 200 episodes in our archives. We chat with several first-time guests and often cover topics not discussed on other podcasts. Look up Wrestling Nostalgia on your favorite podcast platform and visit all of our links at linktree/WrestlePod. That is linktr.ee/RASSLEPOD. And remember, wherever you go, whatever you do, be good, be safe, and keep on growing.
All right, guys, welcome back to The Grenade. We continue on. We heard everything going down on Superstars this week. Now it's time to hear about the November 13th edition of WWF Wrestling Challenge. right, it is Wrestling Challenge November 13th, 1988, taped back October 26th in Salisbury, Maryland at the Wacomico Youth and Civic Center. Gorilla Monsoon and Bobby Heenan on the call here as we head to the ring, kicking it off with the Blue Blazer. Out here dazzling people, backflipping his way from the top rope into the ring. His opponent this week, Barry Horowitz, complete with sequin suspenders and a pat on the back. Yes, Horowitz taking on Owen Hart, the man in the mask. Very familiar opponents. These guys worked quite a bit here upon Owen's debut over the summer months. As Gorilla Monsoon stating here that Barry Horowitz, he heard he's a graduate of the Terry Garvin School of Self-Defense with some private lessons from Pat Patterson as well. Wow, Gorilla. Usually save those jokes for prime time. And I always found it amazing what they were trying to get over here with those jokes here. Bobby Heenan and Gorilla Monsoon with the School of Self-Defense, Terry Garvin, Pat Patterson, and never really breaking character. Everything said with a straight face. Meanwhile, let's not take away from the action. The Blazer and Horowitz out here. Great quick ring action early on as the Blue Blazer working the arm and dazzling the fans with some flippy-do moves and counters in between. A flying head scissors out of a Horowitz top wrist lock here from Owen as well. Barry, though, going to cut the masked man off with a nice super kick, well placed to the jaw, as he says, now we go to school. Going to school with Barry Horowitz, who drops a couple of legs here, then going to use a jackknife pin, score himself a 2 count. But the Blazer coming right back, catching Horowitz off the ropes with a belly-to-belly, as Owen can do, putting Horowitz in place for a top rope splash. The Blazer going over. Nice combination of moves there. Match goes 3 minutes and 12 seconds. Really cool bit there. Barry Horowitz in firm control. Horowitz running the ropes there, and on the rebound, running into an Owen Hart belly-to-belly, putting Barry down. Perfect positioning for that top rope splash. Blue Blazer scoring another one here on TV as we head off to a special interview. Mean Gene Okerlund up on the platform talking with not just Demolition, but their entire team leading into the Survivor Series. 5 tag teams, 4 managers, 14 men, well, 15 counting Gene, all on the stage at one time as Demolition talk about overpowering, outmatching, and with their managers outthinking the babyface side of the Survivor Series. The managers then going to share a few words each about each of their teams. And we see the Conquistadors teasing their ability to switch places, teasing that leading into the pay-per-view as well. Up here on the stage, just an awesome visual with all these guys crammed on the platform together. I can't say this enough, but I cannot wait to get to that 20-man tag. The Brainbusters, Demolition, Rougeau brothers, Conquistadors, and the Bolsheviks all look ready for action. And speaking of ready for action, as is the Outlaw Ron Bass, standing in the ring, getting ready to take on David Isley. And we get an insert promo here from the Outlaw, putting over his Survivor Series team. Then to the action, Isley avoiding an elbow from the Outlaw early on, catching Bass with a nice drop kick, but the Outlaw cutting him off, and the beatdown begins. Eventually, Bass landing a well-placed clothesline, taking Isley out of it. And then it's the Texas Gourdbuster, or Texas Pedigree, if you will. Going to give Ron Bass the win in just 1 minute, 37 seconds. And then post-match, a little fun with Miss Betsy, hanging Isley by the throat over the top rope with the bullwhip. As we continue on, again, like on Superstars, we get that clip. Rockin' Robin dethroning the women's champion, the sensational Sherry, while in Paris, France. Rockin' Robin, the new ladies champion. And then it's back to the ring for singles competition. Tito Santana, Arriba, out here to take on Iron Mike Sharp. And it appears Tito the latest man, now with theme music. All right, so there it is, Tito Santana, now with theme music, and it's about time. He needed something. Meanwhile, Iron Mike Sharp, not so lucky. No music for you, Mike.
Oh, okay.
As on commentary, Gorilla Monsoon referencing Mike Sharp's father, Mike Sharp Sr., a former World Tag Team Champion. Gorilla playing it off like it happened here in the WWF, but big-time team were Mike and Ben Sharp, especially on the West Coast and even all the way over in Japan, as we've covered on the Pro Wrestling Academy podcast in the past. But right now we're here in 1988, Tito and Mike Sharp, and the Iron One, proving why he's the king of stalling to start, ducking in and out of the ropes. We see a picture on the screen at that point of the latest edition of the WWF magazine, featuring an article on Rick Martel. We see him visiting a doctor's office. Uh-oh. Could Rick Martel be returning to the ring? Oh man, I can't wait to find out. Meanwhile, the action continues on, and here Mike Sharp with some cheap tactics to take control. Big body slam, but he's going to miss a follow-up elbow, and Santana going to clear the ring of him. Finally, back inside Sharp with a lot of yelling. Rawr, rawr, rawr. Don't know if that's going to get a lot done, but Santana on the other end, atomic drop, forcing the Iron One to go to the eyes of Tito to take over, but Santana catching him on the rebound, off the ropes, blasting Mike with a flying forearm. Going to score the win here. Tito Santana going over 2 minutes and 54 seconds. So outside of Tito getting some new music, the acknowledgement of Rick Martel visiting a doctor may be the biggest thing to come out of this matchup. But Tito scoring a win over Iron Mike Sharp as we head off to the event center with Sean Mooney. More Survivor Series talk as we hear from Team Warrior and Brutus Beefcake.
Well, the date is fast approaching for the Survivor Series. It will happen Thanksgiving night, live from the Richfield Coliseum. Hello, everyone. I'm Sean Mooney back at the Event Center. And what a night it is going to be. 4 spectacular matchups, including one involving the Honky Tonk Man. He'll co-captain a team along with the Outlaw Ron Bass. On the other side of the ring, the Ultimate Warrior. He will co-captain a team along with Brutus, the Barber Beefcake.
You know, Thanksgiving night, Warrior, it's gonna be our turn, baby. It's gonna be all our night. Because there's gonna be 5-on-5 in there with our team, the Blue Blazer, Jim Brunzell, Sam Houston, stepping in there against Honky Tonk, Bass, Valentine, Bad News, and Davis. Well, now the tables are gonna be turned. It's gonna be our turn to have some fun. And you know something? When you eliminate 1 man, maybe 2 men, maybe even 3 men, you know, that could leave a situation where Honky Tonk Man is left in there all by himself. And maybe that big fat Bass Man. Can you imagine that? How much fun?
All intensity is spreading wild. The inferno's building higher and higher. The foundation is starting to rock. But don't be scared. Don't be afraid. Bad news, you've walked a lot of cold, hard streets in Harlem. But what are you gonna do when the Blue Blazer comes up the launch pad? Dangerous Danny Davis, what are you gonna do when the Cotton Eye Joe comes down all over you? When the fired up dancing Sam Houston gets to you? And when one half of the Killer Bees comes around and takes you out, Greg the Hammer, when the hammer gets heavy? You're all gonna go down. But Honky Tonk, you gotta pay the price. You gotta deal with the rage that's been burning and burning and burning.
Co-captains Brutus the Barber Beefcake and the Ultimate Warrior. They are set for action in the Survivor Series. It happens Thanksgiving night.
Well, it was mostly Brudai doing the talking there. They say it could come down to 5-on-1. The 5 baby faces versus Honky Tonk Man, or even the Outlaw. Warrior Man with a lot of snarling, but he calls out Bad News Brown, who's apparently paired against the Blue Blazer. Far cry from the Macho Man for Brown there. Danny Davis going up against Cotton Eye Joe, referencing Sam Houston, I do believe. And then Greg Valentine, better beware of the Killer Bee, as the Warrior doesn't even mention which bee is on his team. Maybe he doesn't even know. Or it's Warrior, maybe he doesn't even care. It is going to be Jumping Jim Brunzell for the record. But the Warrior and Beefcake sound ready. Don't know everything they said, but they sound ready. And it's back to the ring. A double dose of Akeem on our screen this weekend. We saw him on Superstars, and now it is the Jive Soul Bro Akeem out here with Slick, taking on David Studemeyer for Wrestling Challenge, as this may be the first referenced weekend that I recall of Akeem being called the African Dream here by Bobby the Brain Heenan, as Gorilla responds, please, Brain, the African Dream? What kind of name is that? Meanwhile, in the ring, Akeem delivering a backdrop, and again, slapping his ass over the top of Studemeyer, telling him to kiss my ass. Before we get a little stanky leg gourd buster, gotta love that, and the 747 splash, Air Africa, coming down on top of Studemeyer, giving Akeem the win, just 1 minute and 26 seconds. Very definitive victories here for Akeem this weekend, as he is one of the co-captains of the main event at the pay-per-view. Good use of Akeem on both episodes of TV for this particular weekend. As we continue on back to the event center, Sean Mooney again, another interview with the Mega Powers. More talk of the Survivor Series as we get another interview with the entire team of the Mega Powers. Well, minus Hillbilly Jim, who doesn't seem to make it to any of these promos. But the remaining four, Hogan, Macho, Coco, Hercules, all draped with the Mighty One's chain. Because as they say, it's all for one. And that one is likely Hulk Hogan, dude. But in all seriousness, the Mega Powers forming a unit, kind of an odd group, not going to lie, but they seem ready for the boss man, Akeem, DiBiase, and crew. And speaking of the $1 Million Man, he's in action right now. Back to the ring for the $1 Million Man, Ted DiBiase with Virgil, taking on Mario Mancini. As pre-match, DiBiase offering Mancini the option to take the money and run. And that he does before DiBiase okays it. Literally, Mario taking the money from the hands of the $1 Million Man and trying to flee ringside. But on one side, he runs into Virgil, and on the other, Ted DiBiase. Uh-oh, Mario. Trapped between Virgil and the $1 Million Man. Virgil snatching the money after DiBiase laying Mancini out on the floor. And then from there, aggressive is Ted DiBiase after Mario trying to snatch his money and run. Falling fist drop in the ring, series of elbows, pair of clotheslines, and then the $1 Million Dream for good measure, putting Mancini out 2 minutes and 14 seconds. And then, for shits and giggles, post-match, Mancini going to get not one, not two, but three $100 bills stuffed down his throat. So he got paid, but he didn't escape the beating of the $1 Million Man. As we continue on, it's Fan of the Week here on Wrestling Challenge. We saw it on Superstars, Mean Gene this time with a couple of female fans and talking to one specifically named Charlotte, who's holding a WWF program. Charlotte talking about how her kids like to cut out the pictures and tape them to their bedroom wall. Seems very destructive of a wrestling magazine, but I'm not going to lie. Both me and my brother would do that from time to time. Luckily, I aged out of that pretty quickly, and the rest remain intact. Up next, much like the update on Superstars, the special report this week with Lord Alfred Hayes focuses on the ongoing feud between Jake Roberts and Andre the Giant, the angle from Saturday night's main event. We heard from Andre on Superstars. Here on Challenge, we get a Jake Roberts promo warning the Giant that both snakes, both Roberts and Damien, are coming for the eighth wonder of the world. As it took a very special woman to satisfy Jake, it's going to take a very special man to satisfy Damien. Perhaps it's dinner time for Damien, upcoming at the Survivor Series. And what a giant meal it'll be as we go off to now a Survivor Series report. Once again with Mean Gene Okerlund, hearing from a couple of the teams involved at the pay-per-view, including Team Andre and Dino Bravo, which may be the first time. Now, missing in action from this is actually Harley Race, but we do see Frenchie Martin there with Dino Bravo. Of course, Rick Rude, Andre, Bobby Heenan by their side. And let us not forget Mr. Perfect Curt Hennig rounding out this team. But at one point in the interview, Bobby Heenan accidentally mentioning the word snake, which Andre didn't care for, and leaves the segment. We also hear from Team Bossman and Akeem, the big boss man coming for the Hulkster, as DiBiase guarantees victory for his team, tossing money into the air. Means nothing to the $1 Million Man when you can buy a victory. He feels like he has the team to beat at the Survivor Series. And then it's back to the ring feature match time. We saw the headliner kick off Superstars. Here we're closing out Challenge with this one. Going to see one half of the Hart Foundation, the Hitman, Bret Hart, take on Greg the Hammer Valentine with manager Jimmy Hart. And of course, Jimmy also manages the Rougeau brothers, who just happen to be feuding with the Hart Foundation. Keep that in mind, guys. And before we get too deep into the matchup, we get an insert promo here from the Hammer and manager Jimmy Valentine telling us his specialty is breaking legs, and tonight it's breaking hearts. As the heels are out first and the Hitman begins to make his way out to the ring, but he knows how tricky and crafty his former manager can be. So Bret turning around, going back through the entrance curtains and returning with backup in the form of the Anvil. Jim Neidhart going to stand ringside to watch the back of the Hitman. And as the action gets going, Bret Hart winning a slug out between he and the Hammer. Nice inverted atomic drop here from the Hitman as we see the Fabulous Rougeau brothers appear up on the special interview platform, shouting through Jimmy Hart's megaphone, trying to distract Bret Hart in the ring. Notice how far away they are, though, guys. Is Valentine going to take over with his patented elbow to the back of the Hitman's head? But he makes the mistake. Valentine going up top, taking too long, and as he leaps off, straight into a shot to the gut from the Hitman Bret Hart. Bret, though, turning his attention to the Rougeaus climbing up the ropes, motioning for Jacques and Raymond to come on down to ringside. You chicken shit heels. The Rougeaus, the distraction, allowing Valentine to sneak up from behind, the Hitman standing on the middle rope, and the Hammer able to deliver an awesome-looking back suplex straight off the middle rope right into the middle of the ring. Down goes Bret Hart. Valentine going to land the Hammer elbow drop to soften the Hitman up just a little more before adjusting that Heartbreaker. And it looks like the Hammer, shin guard in place, looking to apply that figure 4. But it is the Hitman able to block it, kick the Hammer off, send him into the corner, break up the figure 4 attempt, and that brings Jimmy Hart up onto the apron. But let us not forget, guys, the Anvil is indeed ringside. And Neidhart, yanking Jimmy down off the apron, begins choking away at his former manager, actually lifting Hart up off of his feet, choking him in the double-handed choke on his former manager. And Valentine going to leave the ring to attack the Anvil from behind, posting Neidhart, sending him straight into the steel post there in order to save his manager. But Bret Hart going to follow the Hammer outside, and the two going to continue their fight on the floor, leading to a double countout. Match only goes 3 minutes and 32 seconds. And with the bell sounding and the Hitman's back turned to the aisleway, wouldn't you know it, the Rougeau brothers going to make their way down. Jacques blasting Bret from behind with a megaphone, tossing him into the ring. And then Jim Neidhart going after the Rougeaus, grabbing a steel chair, chasing the Rougeau brothers all the way up the aisle and into the backstage area. Meanwhile, in the ring, the Hitman laid out, Valentine locking in that figure 4, little extracurricular here from the Hammer. Bret Hart down and out and locked in the figure 4 until the Anvil returns to break up the hold. And of course, Jimmy Hart and Valentine escaping the ringside area as the Anvil checking on the downed Bret Hart. Fun segment, truly not bad for a few minutes of ring action, but the entire angle escalated the Hart's Jimmy Hart storyline even further. Of course, there are issues with the Rougeaus, but of course, the bigger issue here is with their former manager, Jimmy Hart, who managed all 3 of the heels involved here. Job well done for a TV segment. If you guys were looking for a great match, you're going to have to wait for another day. But right now, we go off to Sean Mooney in the Event Center one more time, talking about the Survivor Series.
Welcome back to the Event Center. It is time now to start making plans to see the Survivor Series. It will happen live Thanksgiving night from the Richfield Coliseum. And here are the teams of 5 that will strive to survive. Co-captains Jake the Snake Roberts and Hacksaw Jim Duggan. The rest of their team of 5, Tito Santana, B. Brian Blair, and Ken Patera. Across the ring, co-captains Andre the Giant and Canadian strongman Dino Bravo. Rounding out the team of 5, Ravishing Rick Rude, Mr. Perfect, and Harley Race. In another spectacular matchup, the Intercontinental Champion, the Ultimate Warrior, he will co-captain a team along with Brutus the Barber Beefcake. Rounding out the team of 5, Jumpin' Jim Brunzell, the Blue Blazer, and Sam Houston. I mentioned the Intercontinental Champion is on one side. On the other, the former Intercontinental Champion as the Honky Tonk Man. Co-captains a team with the Outlaw Ron Bass. The rest of the team of 5, Greg the Hammer Valentine, Bad News Brown, and Dangerous Danny Davis. And it just gets better. The Macho Man, Randy Savage. He will co-captain a team with Hulk Hogan. The team of 5, the Mighty Hercules, the Birdman, Coco Beware, and Hillbilly Jim. Across the ring, co-captain, the Big Boss Man. You know what is going on right now between him and the Hulkster. What an encounter it is going to be. The Big Boss Man to co-captain the team of 5 with Akeem. The rest of the team of 5, the $1 Million Man, Ted DiBiase, King Haku, and the Red Rooster. Let's talk about the rules. I talked about them last week. I want to reiterate how a man is eliminated. He is eliminated through either a countout, a disqualification, or a pin. The only difference is in the Survivor Series Tag Team Elimination match. Now, once a tag team man is counted out, he must leave the ringside area. Also, his tag team partner must leave as well. And let's talk about this team, the Powers of Pain. They will co-captain a team of 5. They are joined by the Hart Foundation, the British Bulldogs, the Rockers, and the Young Stallions. Across the ring, captains Axe and Smash of Demolition. The rest of the team, the Fabulous Rougeau brothers, the Russian Bolsheviks, the Conquistadors, and the Brainbusters. Right now, here's how you can see this spectacular event. It's the Survivor Series.
Be a part of the World Wrestling Federation Survivor Series taking place Thanksgiving night. Call your local cable company for pay-per-view availability.
spectacular matches, 50 superstars involved. The Survivor Series, Thanksgiving night live from the Richfield Coliseum. What more can I say besides see it?
The Survivor Series hype never ends as we conclude this week's Wrestling Challenge. Next week on the show, Stacked Show, going to feature Mr. Perfect, Curt Hennig, going to be here, as well as Jake the Snake Roberts, the Big Boss Man. The Mighty Hercules also going to be here, as well as Bad News Brown, and feature bout. Going to see Hacksaw Jim Duggan against the Bolsheviks, Nikolai Volkov.
Our feature match next week, Hacksaw Jim Duggan taking on Big Nikolai Volkov. Here's some words from both of them.
You're right, Nikolai, that's it. You're exactly right. And you know what, Jim Duggan? If you think what the Russian basketball team did to the American basketball team in the Olympics was something, you just wait till next week, you all-American boy meet the mighty Russian band. I've been waiting, and I've been waiting. And old Hacksaw's not a real patient man. But finally, next week, right here, old Hacksaw Jim Duggan goes nose to nose with that great big Russian, Nikolai Volkov.
All right, closing comments from Hacksaw Duggan representing the good old USA tough guy, taking on Nikolai Volkov, the feud that never ends, at least until 1990. And we're going to see it go down right here next week on Wrestling Challenge. But for right now, here this week on The Grenade, it's off to Primetime Wrestling for November 15th, 1988.
I'm Gorilla Monsoon.
And I'm your host, the LeBrain, Bobby Heenan.
The LeBrain.
That's what they called me over
You're
there.
lucky they let you out of the country. Embarrassed me again. Embarrassed the World Wrestling Federation. Embarrassed Sensational Sherry, Rockin' Robin.
Never
You still got
embarrassed.
the mark on your face where she gave you that shot.
She kissed me.
She kissed you, huh?
Never embarrassed Sherry or anybody.
No, huh?
No, I didn't want to go into that, too.
Why are they still holding your passport?
They're not holding my passport.
They're not, huh?
They're holding autographed pictures I gave them.
Tell them about some of the exciting matches we've got this week.
Well, our main event is Dino Bravo.
That's courtesy of Saturday night's main event,
Yes,
incidentally.
versus he's the strongest man in the world versus Ken Patera. We have the Big Boss Man versus Coco Beware. Mr. Perfect is on the program this evening.
And counting to Survivor Series.
That's correct. Think you'll make it?
You're going to be very disappointed again.
Why?
Well, why should anything change? This is still 1988. It's been a horrid year for you.
You owe me some money for that meal.
No, you owe me, and I will pick the restaurant. It'll be in the Big Apple. I know some great spots, too. Gorillas get around. You just keep quiet. You're lucky you got a job. The things are that bad. So try to control yourself. Right now, we'll take you to the Big Apple, to Madison Square Garden. Coco Beware taking on the Big Boss Man.
They had no reason to film that or record it.
Let's go to Reese.
All right, another edition of Prime Time. We are back in the studio this week with Gorilla Monsoon, Bobby the Brain Heenan. They're back from Paris, and I'll use that term loosely. Gorilla and the Le Brain. I don't even know French that well, and I think it's just Le Brain, Bobby, but you are the brain, so why am I questioning you? As we learn, we are only 9 days away from the big pay-per-view. Next Thursday night, the Survivor Series, Richfield Coliseum. Lots of hype here throughout this episode, but not a lot of sound bites. However, we do have this one. History was made in Paris, France.
History was made, though, while we were there, Brain, and we were part of it.
I think he divorced her.
No, I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about Rockin' Robin, the new ladies champion.
There was some kind of a scheme going on there, something so you could beat me out of dinner. But I'll pay. I'm a gentleman about that. Then I went down to interview her.
And
Threw
she
her arms
whacked
around
you.
me. No, she
smacked you across
she
the
never
kisser.
did not. She threw her arms around me and invited me to that
She
big
is
party.
one happy individual, and rightly so, because it is indeed a pleasure to have someone the caliber of Rockin' Robin representing the World Wrestling Federation as the new ladies champion.
All right, so Heenan and Gorilla talking a little bit about Rockin' Robin becoming the brand new women's champion dethroning the sensational Sherry. We saw it last week on Primetime during that event from Paris, France, the big 3-hour special, Primetime Wrestling. You guys can go watch it right now on the Peacock or wherever it may be by the time you're listening to this. As Bobby admits that he lost the bet, I would imagine he had Sherry in that fight. Go figure. The story goes, and this did not happen, but Bobby Heenan came ringside to interview Robin, and she slapped him. So goes the story here on Primetime anyway. But that's going to do it this week for the Soundbites. Instead, we're going to move on to the exclusive matches. We've got a couple of them, both taped in Salisbury, Maryland, October 26th at the Wacomico Center. It's going to see Mr. Perfect Curt Hennig pin another name and Sam Houston with the Perfect Plex. Match goes about 7 minutes here. Hennig taking out the competition one peg at a time. We've seen him in there with all of the undercard talent now in recent weeks. The Jim Brunzells, the Brian Blairs, the Paul Romas. And now it's Sam Houston's turn. I love the way they're slowly building Curt Hennig to basically beat everyone on the roster perfectly. Also, from Salisbury, it was the Young Stallions, Jimmy Powers and Paul Roma, scoring a victory over Iron Mike Sharp and Steve Lombardi. In about 6.5 minutes, Jimmy Powers pinning Lombardi with that Powers Slam. And the final match this week, exclusive match coming to you from Toledo, Ohio, tape back October 5th, gonna see the Conquistadors in tag team action picking up a victory. Yes, indeed, the Conquistadors getting a win over John Latu and Bob Emery. Match only goes 2 minutes as Emery getting pinned after the Conquistadors hitting that catapult into the clothesline finisher that I think we've seen twice now in the last year and a half. But according to Mike McGurk, the Conquistadors are your winners here, and they get this win, no doubt, purposely done here on TV, leading into the Survivor Series. Got to build them up a little bit when they're part of that big 20-man tag, and hey, who knows? They could take it all. But for this week, that's going to wrap things up. Another week in the books. Not a whole lot going on storyline-wise. Again, the WWF going to play it safe leading into the pay-per-view. We're not going to see a lot of new developments, but though we did see some fun things out here and some featured matches. And that's going to continue here next week on both television programs. The final week of WWF TV before the Survivor Series. All that last-minute hype. I can't wait, guys. And you know what that means. In 2 weeks' time here on The Grenade, we're going to be covering the Survivor Series in long form. Going to be discussing it from beginning to end in a special pay-per-view edition of The Grenade. But that also means coming very soon to the VIP Superfan tier over at patreon.com/WrestleCopia. My main man and special guest co-host, Gene Jackson, threw his name in the hat. He said, Ray, when you get to Survivor Series 88, I'd love to be a part of it. I channeled my inner Michelle Tanner from Full House, and I said, Gene, you got it, dude. And so Gene Jackson going to join me for Survivor Series 88, the video cast, available only at patreon.com/WrestleCopia in just a couple weeks' time. Be on the lookout for that as well. But for right now, this week, guys, we're going to wrap things up. I want to thank everybody for following The Grenade. Another big week of TV ahead. Then it's Survivor Series 88 coverage. Another Saturday night's main event in just a few weeks here on The Grenade as well, heading into the final month of 1988, heading into December. And then it's the Royal Rumble, pal, heading to pay-per-view in January 1989. So many things going on. Ron Garvin, the Bushwhackers, Rick Martel going to make his return. Big John Studd. Let us not forget lots of things coming up here in the World Wrestling Federation. But for this week, it's time to say goodbye. But we will be back again next week, another week of WWF TV, November 1988. WWF TV, I should add, right around the corner. But until then, this is Ray Russell saying from pillar to post and coast to coast. You pull the pin, and I'll pick up the pieces right here on the Wrestling Memory Grenade. I'll see you next week. Don't miss it. Be there!
The Survivor Series is coming to you live Thanksgiving night. Your chance to witness the superstars of the World Wrestling Federation compete in a survival of the fittest.
Macho Man Randy Savage, Hulk Hogan, the $1 Million Man Ted DiBiase, Andre the Giant, 50 stars in all. The World Wrestling Federation presents the Survivor Series, where teams of 5 strive to survive. Coming to you live Thanksgiving night exclusively on pay-per-view. Don't get shut out. Order now. Contact your local cable system for complete details.